you pull on that jersey, you represent yourself and your teammates. And a name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. Get that through your head.
And here we go.
And it is no good. He missed it. Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the program otherwise known as NETMA. Glad to have you along. I am your host, Tyler Falk. And we had a quarterfinals weekend that we thought we were going to see a couple upsets, but it ends up being the top four teams that move on in some rather different aspects. One team falls apart, the other teams, maybe some playbook errors. Who knows? We're going to go ahead and break down all of that here today. Let's go ahead and get right into it with game number one. Tulsa and Vancouver. A disappointing ending for the Desperados. However, it has to be said, Tulsa has had a resurgent season, a fantastic season. Again, final time I'll hit this, I promise, until the offseason. Tulsa won the draft. They got Doug Brown at running back, really transformed the position from there, and Sanzo Robinson moving over to wide receiver was a good move in the long term. Sanzo still providing some really good position play at the wide receiver role in his wide receiver 3 spot, if I remember correctly. But still, Tulsa had a fantastic season. It was good to see them really have more of a balanced attack this year. They just couldn't put it all together versus Vancouver. If it hadn't been for an incredible drive from Tom Pepper going 99.5 yards in the last 2.5 minutes, maybe Tulsa has a little bit more momentum in that second half, but a fantastic catch from Curtis in the back of the end zone. Tulsa could not recover in that second half. No points, nothing really doing. Hugh was always under pressure. So for Tulsa, this is a really good spot for you guys. You guys played really well this season. You ran into a brick wall. You ran into the number 1 seed in the SFL, and for good reason. Little shaky from you guys over in the Great White North up in Vancouver, but regardless, you'll take it. I'm sure anyone will take it. A very nice second half to close out the football game. Defense shored up. Now you guys are playing the team we're going to talk about next, the winner of the Sioux Falls and Lone Star game. But final words on Vancouver and their crowd. Need to put together 4 quarters against Lone Star, because if this were to happen if the game you played this weekend happened in reversed, Lone Star might be able to come away and beat them. I already alluded to, but the Glory make an explosive statement, and it looked to be all Sioux Falls to close out the first quarter. And just like in Vancouver, where the hometown Legion come away with the solid drive, it's 100 yards of a return from Greg Soto, the Cuban missile, to crash land in the end zone on the other side of the field to make it a 21-14 point ball game at the half. And just like that, Sioux Falls were shut out in the second half. Lone Star comes away with the big victory, 34-21. LSG, oh boy. how wrong were most of us on the content creator roundtable to begin off the season, myself included. Not going to say what I predicted them to go off yet, because I think that might jinx them. But the Glory, another glorious day in Denton. Now they have to go on the road and take on Vancouver. We'll talk more about that this week, along with the other semifinal matchup. But the Sparrows, another team with a resurgent season, along with Tulsa, really good for them. Much more of a balanced attack, like we've talked about all season. The passing attack this weekend just wasn't on point. The team that forced the most turnovers throughout the regular season in the Sparrows lost the turnover differential here in the ball game versus Lone Star. That helped Lone Star come away with the big victory, and that also seals Sioux Falls' fate. So Sioux Falls, Tulsa out. Lone Star travels to Vancouver for the first of the two semifinal matchups. Now to get to the other half of the bracket and to get to London and Baltimore. Slanted into submission. It seemed like every other play from the broadcast booth, London wanted to run 90 all slants in different formations. And while that works occasionally, Baltimore is not a team you should probably try that on. And Baltimore really clamped down on London, having the Knights really just not doing anything. 2 pick sixes along with the rest of the interceptions thrown by Johnny Pickler. And to be honest, some of those picks weren't his fault. However, a majority of those interceptions did come on slant plays where the ball was bobbled. It was thrown into coverage. Just not a good look for Pickler. Mike St. Green announces his free agency, so that's one less target for Johnny Pickler to throw to. And now they got to try and find someone to pair along Fox Highwind and company. And now, what happens to the 2 tight end situation? Benji Matson and Tiberius Bovine. Matson, more of the team player, was designated to the tight end 2 role when they brought Bovine in. Does Bovine stick around? Does Matson stick around? Some questions to be asked there of the offense in London, though, again, won their first playoff game, won it on the road, right? No, won it at home in Queensway. I'm almost forgetting. But Queensway hosts a playoff game. It was good for the fans. They traveled to the defending champs, and they were slaughtered. Let's just put it that way. Baltimore picks up right where they left off in the postseason a season ago. After stumbling into the playoffs in season 17, losing to London, they stumble into this playoffs, going 1 of 3, and they say, what's that? Just a blip on our radar. It's a bigger blip, but we'll just pick up right where we left off and show everybody who's boss. So Baltimore, but with no surprise, really moves on to the postseason. So Baltimore is team number 1. It is the Louisiana Revolution that score 45 points. Their largest tally of the season against Charleston, one of the best defenses in the season. Very surprising. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. 45-27 your final score with the Rebs on top. Expected Charleston to put up a good fight, which they did. A Tank Bennett pick 6 maybe sealed the momentum in the Rebs' favor, but in all intents and purposes, this is the game we were expecting. It's the game that the Revolution were expecting. Charleston to play hard. Johnson to throw maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns to Simon. Simon's got way involved. He had come alive in the postseason. It was good to see him get 2 touchdowns this postseason, even from the enemy's sidelines. But regardless, Charleston had dealt through, last couple seasons have gone through some turmoil and some upheaval with ownership changes. They had to change quarterbacks mid-season. They had T.D. Drew for the first half of the season. Kentis Johnson comes in and deputizes really well, nearly performs a Jack Wigmore, and takes his team to the semifinals and even to the playoffs and winning them. But had to go through the Revolution, and unfortunately for the Preds, it's the Revolution who prevail and perform rather admirably. All 3 backs in that 3-back set all got a touchdown. Collier had I think the lion's share of the rushing workload if it wasn't for Colin Hart. Definitely getting everybody involved. It was fun to watch, a fun game. I think maybe I'm being a little bit biased here, but I think the Revolution game was by far the funnest to watch in its entirety. But that is how things play out. So it is Lone Star Vancouver who will be in semifinal number 1. It is the Baltimore Vultures hosting the Louisiana Revolution, and that is aside who goes to the 18th SFL championship game. So that is going to do it here for this edition of the program. We'll talk more about the SFL playoffs later this week. Tomorrow, I want to talk some minor league football, and it's a topic I brought up earlier. I think needs repeating along with a couple other things. I want to say some stuff that I've got in my mind about the minor league. Tune in tomorrow to hear that. And until then, everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.